I don't normally do this, but it's not a reaction. I want to expound on. Regie Collects is a YouTuber that I respect greatly. I think he does amazing work. He has a great video talking about why graded books would be worth more than an ungraded book, the raw book, right? And a viewer, or someone in his comment section, brought this up. So he did a video, and I want to share this with you guys and kind of go through some of these points as well,
Graded books aren't
because I think that there's some great conversation that should be had here, by the way. So here's the video, just a couple little snippets, and the link is in the description for Reggie's channel and the link to this video so you can enjoy the whole thing. We're only going to play a couple parts.
substantially worth more than raw books.
So graded books are not worth more than raw books, and that's the premise of the video.
And unfortunately, I can't create that video because it's simply not true.
100% agree. So one of the things that I think folks have to keep in mind is, what is a graded book? And Reggie goes through some examples of what certification means. He gives examples on how we pay for and use certification in other areas of our life. We can talk about, like, a teacher who gets licensed and certified. You may go to a licensed or certified mechanic, or you may buy a diamond and you find out that it's a licensed and certified diamond in quality. So therefore, if there's something issue, you have some sort of recourse, right? Well, comic book grading is at least I don't know about the recourse part, but I can say this: it's a contract between the two of us that we are going to agree that this third party has evaluated a comic book, they've encased it in plastic, and they've certified its condition with appropriate notes. So you may have a green label book that has very specific details on why it's even a green label. It's a modified book. So the issue comes down to this. You and I want to have a transaction over X comic book, and I say it's worth this amount of money, and you say, well, no, it's not worth that much money because it has these type of issues with it. Or we have a transaction, and then later on you find a defect that I didn't tell you about, right? Fraudulent behavior. Using CGC, which is the most common grading company. I know CBCS is also out there, but let's just talk about the retail market. CGC is kind of like the top one. We are agreeing that they are going to be our evaluator, and whatever grade or score they give it, that's the one we're going to live by. And the pricing table is adjusted based on supply and demand. That's really it. It's not that the raw book isn't worth more money, because if you're a really good evaluator, and Reggie talks about this in his video, like if you really have the skill set to evaluate books and know how to grade them yourself, and you can physically touch the books, you can feel for imperfections, you can check things out for yourself, then maybe the raw book, got to be honest though, the raw book then should be a deal. I think the commenter here may just be trying to charge more money for a raw book. It's a let's say a rare book or an uncommon book. I saw this recently in an auction with Star Wars Heir of the Empire #1. I think I put a bid in very early on, just low bid, because that makes it easier for me to track it, right? You'll get more alerts if you put a bid in, even though you're not going to get outbid. So I put in a very low bid, but I want to get alerts because I wanted to see what the ungraded book would go for. Because I know the graded book, a 9.8, is at least $1,000. Right now, it's a super on fire book. Everybody wants a first appearance of General Thrawn book. And the book ended up selling because the person actually did a very smart thing. They took very, very detailed photos in their eBay auction. So you could see all of the edging along the spine. You could see some different things. Now, it doesn't really absolve the seller of there being other imperfections or problems, right? Because there could be. Compare that to the graded book that's already been certified. You already know what you're getting. You already have sort of an evaluator who has done that work for you, right? And that's what this video is really about. And that's what I think Reggie does such a great job of trying to. Anyway, this is one of the comments here. I thought this
Price
was
as a slab book minus the cost of grading and shipping. Unfortunately, it just doesn't work that way.
no, it does not work that. Why would it work that way? Like, right? Because that's me. That's me agreeing to your abilities to grade a book, right? So let's say you have Heir to the Empire and you have you want $500 for this ungraded book, I'm going to have to agree the book is worth $500. I have to take your word on it, right? Let's say the book is already graded. Let's say it's graded and the going price on the graded book is $500. Well, then, okay, it's easier for me, the consumer, to evaluate that price. And I will say that it does absolve the seller of a lot of responsibility, right? It does absolve the seller of, let's say you have a book and you find out, let's say there's a news that breaks and there's some sort of weird imperfection or counterfeit or something that happens that, let's just say most people didn't know about. Okay. And CGC had graded the book, you can at least go to CGC. I would say, listen, I'm just a seller. This is what they said it was. Therefore, you need to go to them. So that has happened. There's mistakes. There's always going to be mistakes, right? I returned a book because the label wasn't accurate. And I should say that it's not accurate. It was incomplete. Well, that's not true. I had one that was inaccurate and I had one that's incomplete. So I had one where they put the cover artist and they put the wrong cover artist on it. And it was very clear because at the bottom you could see the signature and it was very clear who the cover artist is. Then I have an incomplete because the issue involved like several key appearances. And I don't know if it's just because their database had been outdated, but I was like, listen, you guys got to update your label. I want my label to reflect the full amount of information that is in this key issue, right? But to think that an ungraded book is the same, that's just not how things work. So, and Reggie does such a great job in this video.
It's a nice thought, but that is not how this works. And it's the first part of this that we have to really examine. An accurately graded raw book.
See, that's the treat. That's what I was saying before. Like we have to have an agreement on terms, right? And back in the day, this was a huge thing. And you'll see almost all of my listings and all the things that I do, I will list as very fine to near mint. Why? Because that line, and if we use the CGC scores, I think you'll understand that line between, let's say, 9 and 9.4, that little line right there, it's pretty small. You could easily miss a blemish or something, and there's some stuff. Now, 9.4, you kind of have a line for things that are above that, right? What has to do with color breaking, stress marks, and maybe some stuff around the edging of the spine and things like that. But the difference between a 9.6 and a 9.8 is sometimes very, very small. And I want to say even to the point of judgment. Like I know people have done videos where they show multiple books and they'll be like, this is an 8, this is an 8. Look at this one's a 6. It looks better than the 8, that kind of thing. Look, again, there are still humans involved. People do make mistakes. But I think what Reggie's saying here is very, very true because um, your ability and my ability is what's in question. We are outsourcing that to a company where someone, either you or me or someone, has paid a service for that to happen. I think that's what's important to remember here.
That in and of itself is a big thing.
I like that he had popped up the challenge. I think that's really, really pretty good there. I like that. That's good. By the way, Reggie has some beautiful books that he shows off in this video. It's kind of worth your time if you just want to do that. Check that out.
Count the pages and feel the texture.
So he's talking about if you have physical access to the book. We talked about that briefly. This is him showing off some of his books. I don't even. At one point, I had to rewind the video because I was trying to. I was taking note of some of the things that he was going through. He was just flipping through some books. Look at this old Batman
A
book.
label applied to it. The defects.
See, there you go. You have like a purple label, so you have some of the information. They have already accounted for the problems with that book, so therefore it goes into their score. This is very important too, because let's say you have a raw book. You don't know like when the last time that person checked it. Has there been an issue with it since then? Maybe it got dropped or something like that. There's a lot of things that go into it. And when he starts showing off just some amazing books, by the way. And by the way, looking behind him, there's just some beautiful stuff back there, which include his books, which are the bottom 3 right here, these isolation books. That's his publishing that does this. I did a review and interview on isolation. So check that out.
To take a chance, if you will, because they have essentially outsourced that certification, that verification to the third-party grading company. And
There you go. There you go. So Reggie does such a great job doing this. I'm glad that the video could kind of like, I want to say kind of put the bumpers up for me, because I know I've been asked to talk about this a little bit about that kind of thing. So, but let me give kudos to Reggie for putting together a great video. It's in the links. We're definitely in 100% alignment on why and what grading is and things like that. And then, of course, we don't really get into it too much in this video, but not every book should be graded. Like there's some books, like maybe you want to grade it for the fact of safety to keep it preserved, but it doesn't really like mean it's going to be worth a ton of money. And a raw book is fine. So anyway, love your thoughts and feedback on these type of videos. I don't really do these things. I'm not a big, react to the YouTuber kind of guy or anything like that, but I got to give credit where credit is due. Reggie nailed it. Let's do it. Let's give him credit. Let's give him some views and hits. If you're not a subscriber, you can go over and check out his stuff too. So anyway, that's my video on this. Thank you so much. I am Pops.
Yeah. Right?